and living life sober one day at a time. If you like what you hear, go ahead and follow us. And if you get some time, check out our Instagram page at the Sober Fix Podcast, and also our YouTube and TikTok at the Sober Fix. Hope you enjoy the episode. What is up, everyone? It's Drew. Welcome to another episode of the Sober Fix, and I am excited about this one. We've got Craig Perra, and he is an addict. He's a founder of Mindful Habit System. He is a coach. He's helped thousands of people, and I think I saw on your website, Craig, 27 different countries.
31 now. 30, I count. It's 31. It always makes me feel good when I get someone from another country. I feel like I accomplished something, spreading the message all over the place.
Hey, that's cool, man. And thank you for the update on the stats. That's amazing. Your website is just killer, man. Craig, I just want to kind of start in the beginning. Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Sure. I grew up in Cranston, Rhode Island, right outside of Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay, cool. And yeah. When did you we'll get into the addiction stuff. Was that present in childhood? Was there anything looking back where you could say, oh man, like there were kind of signs that I may suffer from addiction, or as you look back?
Oh, yeah. So, like a lot of addicts, a lot of trauma, physical abuse, mental abuse, an older neighborhood boy. There was some sexual abuse. And I had been obsessed with sex since I was 8 years old, and probably even before that. It literally, I can still remember the magazine that I found in the gutter. Kind of little, I don't know what the word is, but that says something about that little foreboding or foreshadowing in the gutter on the way to school, and it was worn. I can still see the worn folds that were weathered by the weather in my mind. Like I remember it, and I still remember some of those images that I discovered as a young boy, finding magazines, stealing magazines. So there were definitely traits early on that there were these two parts of me. There was the successful part that people saw, did good at school, was good at sports, captain of his sports teams, as I grew and matured. And then this other, dirty, dark part of me that at the time felt like a piece of shit. And that compartmentalization around sex started very, very early.
Very early, yeah. And was it? Do you feel like it was you ran into issues with it in your early relationships as well?
Yes, I had cheated on every girlfriend that I ever had. My first love, cheated. My first long-term relationship, cheated. My marriage, cheated. So, yeah, very early on, I was out there, dating and doing that, cheating. And then there was this other part of me that was going over to the neighborhood boy's house who started touching me when I was like 8, 9, 10, and go over there and mess around with him. So compartments. This part of me and that part of me.
Yeah, and sometimes I hear from others, I've heard it shared at kind of like recovery meetings sometimes that they've had an encounter like that when they're younger. They've had a sexual encounter that maybe they didn't want when they were younger. And do you feel like that, kind of looking back and with all your experience and knowledge, do you think that plays a part in kind of messing with someone's I don't know if it's like sexual desires, or do you think that plays a part in kind of the addiction, is having some type of kind of traumatic event at a young age?
Yes, significantly. Now, not for everybody, because one of the things we know, Drew, is that different people respond to their environment in different ways. Different people respond to different recovery modalities. So different people respond to different things. Being assaulted as a child is considered an adverse childhood experience, which means our CDC and all our universities who do research know that when this bad event happens, that increases the chances of you having physical health problems, heart disease, diabetes, any inflammatory condition, and mental health problems, including addiction. So yes, it because what it does a few things, many things. One, it stains the arousal template. So when you're a young person and your sexual being is developing, when it develops in a healthy, constructive way, it's in connection with someone of your who you choose to have, which gender you choose to have sex with. Right, that's a choice. You've made that choice. When that choice is taken away from you, and you're now doing things in conflict with a pre-existing arousal template. That's what I mean when I say the arousal template in terms of what turns you on gets stains. It also makes you feel like an absolute shameful, worthless piece of shit because you keep going back. You keep going back. And so there's shame. It contributes to the lying and compartmentalizing, which is critical with any addiction. When I talk to some of the wives in my program and how could he keep this a secret? Now, I have to have a relationship with them and know how to answer this question, but he's been lying about some aspect of his sexual expression since he was a child. The lying is the default. That's not a bug. That's a feature. That has been a feature for decades. So massively impactful, Drew.
Yeah, and I'm glad you talk about the lying because I can relate to that. I would lie in my addiction when the truth would play off better.
Yeah.
I could not get away from lying, and do you think that it is a big part because of the shame that you mentioned? Because we kind of feel like we're doing something wrong, we need to hide it. Do you think that's where most of the lying comes from? Is it like kind of covering our tracks a little bit, or why do you think we have to lie so much about it?
Yeah, no, great question. I I do a lot of parts work using the internal family systems model and how we've evolved that into the mindful habit system. So just by way of like simple analogy, yeah, there's a part of me that lies. When my wife asks me a simple question, did you take out the trash? My default answer is no, even though all I had to say was, oh my God, thank you, honey, for the reminder, and go and take out the trash. That lying is so deeply entrenched. And what it is, what they call the lying part in the internal family systems model, Drew, it's a protector. The liar is protecting us from shame. It's protecting us from getting in trouble. It's protecting us from feeling bad about ourselves, from hurting someone else's feelings. So the lying, listen, for a lot of this, I believe the lying, the ability to compartmentalize, and the lack of empathy is closer to the root of this problem than any substance or behavior. Because the behavior, if you're not lying, hey, honey, I'm going to go out and buy a gram of heroin. I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, Craig, just don't take out any more than $80 though. Make sure you get a good batch. No! Hey, honey, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to the massage parlor up the street. I'm going to tell you I'm going to the supermarket, but I'm not. You eliminate the lying. You don't eliminate all the problems, but you certainly make a massive, massive impact. I think the lying is so important to focus on, Drew.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to ask you too, because in just watching or looking at your videos and reading your website and everything, and I just told you before we started, super inspirational, by the way. How were you able to be so successful in business and stuff while you had all this kind of addiction stuff on the side? What was that like trying to kind of balance both worlds?
Yeah. Well, I think the addiction helped me be successful because I had a coping strategy that was, not tolerated by my wife, but from a society perspective, boys will be boys. I convinced myself, Drew, if everybody knew what I know about the massage parlors, the escort ads, this was, back in the Craigslist days, they don't have them there anymore. They got apps now. but it's like, oh, it's easy. If everyone knew it, they would do it. And so, um, no, bring me back to your question, Drew. I realized I kind of went off on another tangent.
Oh no, you're good. I'm just asking about because you
Oh,
were.
the successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I submit that my addict part helped me be successful. It helped me numb, helped me cope, helped me escape, helped me deal with stress and anxiety. It was frankly the glue that kept a fragile mental health ecosystem together. Because once I removed the coping strategy, Drew, this big successful part of me, executive, assistant general counsel, and once those compartments started blending, I'm neurotic. I started having panic attacks for the first time in my life. I am profoundly dysregulated, hypersensitive. So the addict part, and that not good enough piece of shit part that was with me at my lowest of the low when I tried to hurt myself, is also the part that drove me to be successful, to push to get the better job, to be more successful, to get another promotion, to not be content because I was never good enough. So that drove me to accomplish some really important things. In that same aspect of my personality, was present when I was in a parking lot and stuffed my face in a pile of drugs, hoping my heart would explode.
Yeah, and I read about that on your website. How did you kind of get there? Was that just a combination of everything that had been going on? Was that all of the shame and guilt, the secrecy, the lies? Was that just everything went on, or was there a specific event that happened around that time?
Yeah, there were a few things, Drew. So, first, in context, by this point, 15 years ago, I had been in treatment and therapy, primarily 12 steps and traditional therapy for decades. I had been dealing with this problem since my early 20s. Things had ruptured in my relationship. I'd get caught, I'd have a meltdown. I'd get attached to one of the women that I was paying for. That was my, I would get attached. They'd pull away, and I'd have a meltdown. So I had been by this time diagnosed bipolar, ADD, depression, anxiety, medications for many years, um, and but despite that, I was still really struggling. When things got tough at work, I would act out. And so things got worse. I got fired from my first job 18 months before I got fired from my second job. So I got fired from this first job for lying to my boss about something stupid, just like we talked earlier, Drew, with your wife. Did you take out the trash? Yeah, no, honey. Right? I told my boss something. Hey, did you move the coffee pot? No. Craig, it's on camera. You moved the coffee pot. It's not that, but I'm giving you an
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
example to illustrate how innocuous it was. All I had to do was answer the question rightly and say, "Yeah, boss, oh, God, now that I think about it, I goofed on that. I did do that, but I lied about it. I doubled down on it. I tripled down on it. I got fired. So, but I'm the comeback kid. I get a better job. Moving to California. They're paying for my relocation package. I'm now in charge of a company's nationwide compliance department, on path to be the chief compliance officer. Biggest job of my life. I hated it. It was a nightmare. The guy who was in the role before me left 3 months before, like $50,000 in option vested. That's how miserable he was. I could not handle the pressure. I was not had the experience to execute in that job, in that environment. I did not have the courage to tell my wife how bad I was struggling. So my sabotage part said, "You're not willing to address this problem? I'll address it for you." I got addicted to the synthetic chemical bath salts. I was seeing escorts, trans escorts, um, uh, not going into work. By this time, my marriage is in shambles. I got fired from that job, and that's when I believed the lie that the world would be better off without me. And I had that moment, and where it was unsuccessful. Obviously, I was hospitalized, and I remember coming out of the hospital, and I said to myself, I am never coming back to this place again. I don't care if I've got to dedicate the rest of my life to self-help. I'm never coming back to this place again. And, here we are 15 years later, 13 years, professionally helping people. And that rock bottom was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I learned so much from it. Finally figured out what worked for me. And now I get to share that, with people all over the world and live a beautiful, blessed, healthy, happy life.
Wow, man, that is so cool. There's a lot of questions I have regarding what you were just talking about. I want to ask you about how did you get started on the bath salts?
Oh my God. So, okay. We should, I'll get you the article, Drew, and you might want to put this in the liner notes just so people can understand my psychology. There was an article in the New York Times. The article said, new synthetic stimulant, legal but destroying lives. You read the article. Here are some of the quotes in the article. Head of the DEA. This is the worst drug we've seen in the history of drugs. It's a psychotic. It's making people crazy. It's damaging. It's ruining lives. It's worse than PCP, crystal meth, and cocaine combined. But it's legal, Drew. So my reaction is, fuck the man. Stop it. You said that about marijuana and hallucinogens, you liar.
Yeah.
You liar. This is probably a fun thing to do. Well, it's one of those things, man. You want to accelerate your downward spiral, get on bath salts, because that is a absolutely 100% guaranteed way to suck the life out of yourself. I lost 15 pounds in like a month. My face got gaunt. I wasn't eating. I was in a psychosis because you look out and you see the shadows, and it's just a shadow. Drew, I'm talking to you now. It's just a shadow, but on the bath salts, oh shit, that's a devil.
Yeah, it feels real.
That feels real, and that's when I knew I needed help, when I started seeing things and couldn't stop.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So I want to go back real quick. I just want to ask you about digital addiction. Can you just explain kind of what digital addiction is?
Sure. If something impacts our dopamine, you can be addicted to it. It's that simple. Digital addiction is which is not a defined term. They haven't figured it out yet. Right now, it's a layman's term, and so is sex addiction, by the way. Drew, not a recognized disorder, rejected by the American Psychiatric Association, and also rejected by the World Health Organization. Long story, whatever, we can talk about that. So it's not a recognized disorder yet, but it's any compulsivity around technology. It could be binge watching, doom scrolling. Porn could fit under that umbrella, although that, kind of has a separate own label. Think about think about this, Drew. How bad do things really have to be for schools, in the face of incredible lobbying pressure from technology companies, are literally banning cell phones? Australia has banned cell phones or social media for children under 14 years old. Why are they doing that? Because it is destroying people's lives and potentially permanently altering their brains and how they receive and process information and how they feel about themselves. Horrific damage. And so that's digital addiction is going to be the next kind of porn addiction and sex addiction, and gambling too, with all the advertisements that people are seeing out in the world right now, which are highly offensive to me. No, want to rain on anybody's parade, but they're preying on vulnerable people. But anyway, so that's digital addiction.
Yeah, and thank you for explaining that. I want to ask you too. You mentioned going to 12-step meetings kind of for a while throughout the years you were. I think it was when you were kind of suffering. What was that like for you? Because I know that your program is different than 12 steps. You offer an alternative to that. What was that like for you? Was that something that helped? Were you not into it?
The let me first acknowledge these are my shortcomings. I have great reverence for an amazing fellowship that has saved millions of lives. Let me start there. What I've also learned too, Drew, is that different people respond to different things. So I'm sitting in these meetings. I'd have to drive, 25 minutes to get there, 25 minutes back, and it was every share, slip after slip after slip after slip. Everyone calling themselves I am a sex addict. I am a porn addict. That didn't resonate with me. The concept of surrendering and being powerless. Now remember, I'm blaming myself. I have great reverence for those principles today. I understand them now. Ego's not getting in the way because I'm the kind of person, I got to do it my way. Don't tell me what to do. I've always been that way. I've always been a bit of a rebel. This is what I'm supposed to do, like the bath salt thing. You know what I mean? A natural rebel. So I really didn't connect with the meetings. And so I stopped going. Or, I'd stop and I'd try again, and then I'd stop, I'd try again. So I never really had any significant, like years of going, although there were months at a time over the course of many years that because I kept stumbling and kept finding out that, this is what I'm supposed to do. But at my rock bottom, at my lowest point, I learned something that shocked me to my core. I learned that sex addiction and porn addiction was not a recognized mental health disorder. I learned, Drew, that in fact it's highly controversial. In fact, there's a whole governing body of the sex therapist, not the sex addiction, the sex therapist, the leading group of sex therapists, has a statement on their website that says that sex addiction model is not supported by sufficient scientific evidence and is actually hurting some people. So I learned that and I was angry. How could not one of my therapists, the people that paid me, that I paid, part of an institution, like going to a doctor and getting treated with crystals, like you have to tell me that it's a highly controversial model. The one group of highly educated, PhDs in the sexual health field say it's dangerous. The moralization, the focus on the problem, identifying as an addict. They're like, do you have any idea what that does in the context of a relationship? This is a complicated, listen, they're all complicated issues, right? And so I learned that there was this controversy, and that was shocking to me. And so that led me to my journey to figuring out, okay, well, if instead of doing what everyone's telling you what you're supposed to do, why don't you try to figure out what's going to work for you? And I found a therapist who didn't subscribe to the model and focused on mindfulness and actually had a curriculum, rooted in science around tools. It's like the first time I'm like doing some of this stuff, and it was really, really, really helpful. And different people need different things to be successful, and that was, a really important lesson for me. If 12 steps is working, God bless. You go. You rock that thing. Free. Why would you pay for something if, free is working for you? Come on, man. But there are a significant number of people who do not connect with that approach. The statement that it works if you work it, I believe, is a categorically false statement. It does not work for everybody.
Yeah, I've found that as well. Like that's how I got my start in getting sober and everything. And it's funny because that's what I was always shown. Like I would go to treatment centers or I would go to detox, and they would say when you get out, go to AA. Or I would go to court, and the judge would say, okay, you have to go to AA. I had everyone pushing me there. And so I think my default, I just assumed that's how people got sober. And then as time went on, I realized, oh, there's a lot of other ways that people are kind of doing this, So I want to get to the start of the mindful habit. Where does that even begin? Was it the blog that your wife had? How did this cool
Yeah.
idea come to conception, I guess?
The blog that my wife had was an important first step, but it started earlier. I'm an impatient. from bath salts and having sex with prostitutes, okay? And I tried to hurt myself. I didn't get much value. I didn't think I did at the time. In fact, I kind of felt it was a waste of money, and it was a lot of money. But the fact is, I needed to dry out. So I needed to get away from everything. Now, the first thing I did was get more bath salts when I got out, but that's a whole different story. I'm in inpatient, and the guy's doing a lecture, and he said, "Hey, has any of you guys ever heard of risk management?" And Drew, I'm like, "Yeah, I manage risk for billion-dollar companies. I know a thing or two about it." And I might have even had that cocky attitude. And so he starts talking about risk management, and it's important to know when you're vulnerable. And just like businesses, you got to be proactive. You got to be proactive when you're most vulnerable. It's a simple concept. And I think he was trying to appeal to some of the business people in the room. And I remember it vividly for the life of me. And I said to myself, if this guy says risk equals frequency times severity, I am going to jump out the window. And the reason why I had that feeling, because that's risk management 101. Risk equals frequency, how many times something could happen, and severity, how severe is it? How bad is it when it happened? It's like fundamental for anybody in risk management, that principle. And I said, wait a minute. In that moment, Drew, I said, because in that moment, I contrasted the trainings that I did as an executive with my therapy. Training, structure, clear learning objectives, clear developmental milestones, metrics, deliverables, a specific, goal, and that if we don't train them in that goal, that's on us. That's not on them. That's on me. So in that moment, literally sitting there, I contrasted all this experience that I had in training, in leadership, with what I was getting in my therapy, which was wonderful. I love my therapist. I stand on their shoulders, but it was slow. It was unstructured. I was setting the agenda. All we talked about was problems. And I said, I can build a better mousetrap. Fast forward a little bit, my wife decides to share her journey with the world, because there were no resources for partners that back then. My wife and I were the first couple to go on national TV ever to talk about this issue. Not like a Katie Couric, not, there might have been some Jerry Springer stuff, but the first, kind of so she did the blog. The Anderson Cooper show found her, and she went on TV. And my therapist says, "Hey, you're really good at helping people. I saw what you did in the group." And then he would let me work with some of his clients, and I did brilliant work with them, like things that he wasn't able to do. And I said, "Wait a minute, I am good at this. I am good at this." And that's so I started working with people one-on-one. It was normal, and I realized it was normal. "Hey, how's it going? How you been? Let's talk about the problems." And I said, no. I am going to do it my way. And so I left working with my therapist, because I was not free to do what I wanted to do in that environment. And we left him. And I said, I'm going to get a workbook. We're going to have a plan. My wife put the workbook together. We recorded the videos, and it's been this highly structured program ever since. And let me just say, trained to doctors, therapists, and other coaches. People come to me to get trained in my model, Drew, and that is just, plus the greatest validation is the results I see in clients. It's been awesome.
Wow, that's a powerful story, and that must. I got a few questions, but what was it like? You're going on, not many, if not any, couples have gone on national TV and talked about this issue. What was that like? I'm sure, I assume maybe it was exciting to go on there, but was there some fear in there? How are people going to react when I tell this story? What was that like?
We were excited. We saw the possibility that we could be a voice for helping people and share with the world that you can get through this and you can make your life better. So there was that, and plus, you can't deny I'm an egomaniac. I love attention. I've come to embrace my attributes in a healthy, constructive way now. But that, so that significance piece of going on Anderson Cooper and Katie Couric, and then later Steve Harvey, and it was terrifying because no one in the community knew. I mean, people knew Craig got fired. People knew Craig and Michelle were having problems. No one knew how dark it was. No one knew that I had, well, a few close friends. Beyond that I had tried to hurt myself. I don't even think people knew that I was hospitalized. Our kids were in elementary school. This is a very close-knit community. The elementary school is like right up the street. And we were terrified that people were going to judge us. I was scared that I wouldn't be allowed to coach the kids' basketball and my daughter's soccer team anymore because people would label me a pervert. And the truth was, though, that there were some people who felt that way. And those people left our lives, and we wish them well, and we love them very, very much and hope they're happy and successful. And there were others who were proud of us and celebrated that choice. And we're happy to be part of our journey. So it got easier, but it was terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine that's, you just never know how people are going to react. I'm sure there's probably was there relief for you though, to have it out there, or at least I don't want to ask you too. I want to kind of go back to this. When you were doing the bath salts and you ended up in treatment, and that was when you had tried to harm yourself. Did you have to did you have to come clean to your wife at that moment? Did she already have an idea? Like, how did you end up in treatment?
Yeah. So one of the advantages of my rock bottom, Drew, that everything was exposed. Everything. She found emails to the woman, a trans escort that I had been seeing, and I hope I'm using the right words, please. And then she had the text messages. She found pictures. It was so it was everything was so out in the open, and I also had the realization, Drew, I'm a father. Like, I can't fucking kill myself. Okay, so whatever I do, I got to get my shit together. So I didn't know what was going to happen with the relationship. I had no idea. I was pretty confident Michelle was going to leave me because that would have been the same thing to do. But the only reason she stayed with me is because I was so unstable. I wasn't able to function early on. And so she said, I'm going to help you get back on your feet, and then I'm out. And I used every moment of my being to with her to show her that I could change. And here we are. I think I lost the frame on your question there, Drew. Guide me again. Where were you
Oh
asking
no,
me?
you pretty much covered it. I was asking you kind of when you went to rehab. Did your
Oh
wife?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
all out. It was all out. It was so bad. And then what wasn't out, Drew, knowing that I had tried to hurt myself, I told her. I let it all out, and going on TV. I'm sharing this with the world. When we first started the podcast, I had a disguise on. I wore a Darth Vader mask because that felt right for me. As a fan of Star Wars and that darkness and Darth Vader's choice at the end to save Luke, I just felt that was appropriate. It was so freeing to be able to take that mask off and commit to doing this and put it out there because it was really something I felt I had to do to stay alive. I could no longer live in shame and secrets. This is what everyone thinks about me. Well, I'm going to tell you what's really going on and choose to love me or not, but I'm sick and tired of lying.
Yeah, man, and I want to ask you about the podcast as well. When did you decide to start doing that?
So before we started helping people formally, my wife saw a vacuum. There were no couples talking about this. The partner resources that were out there were toxic, like really, really, really toxic. These poor women were swirling, and it was, we felt really bad for them. And so before we started helping people, we launched a podcast. I was Ed and Mishka. Ed, because my wife really, and we both like the movie Twilight. So Edward. And Mishka was what her grandmother used to call her. I don't remember what mask she was wearing, but we had masks on, and we started, making these podcasts and recording YouTube videos, and it blew up. Relatively speaking, nothing like what the big podcast now, but it got really popular, and it's been just this incredible joy. I keep coming back to that, man. But it is like I get to talk to people every week and share my problems, and they tell me I'm vulnerable, and just sharing my stuff, like put it all out there. I love it. This is my mental and physical health. This is my treatment now. This is what I do for me, is to put all that out there and get people comfortable talking about things that they're not comfortable talking about, because there is a difference. Let me give you an example, Drew. Someone wakes up on Sunday, goes to church, they get all together after, they tell everybody, hey, I'm an alcoholic and I'm doing it, and like, way to go, brother. Way to go. Congratulations. We are so proud of you. Same guy is all banged up. He's lying. He's cheating. He's going to massage parlors. He can't stop watching porn. He's done. He's had enough. Same situation. Hey, everybody. I want everyone to know that I'm on the road to recovery. I have been struggling with compulsive sexual behavior. Might be a sex addict, but I want everyone to know I'm on the mend. Thank you for your support. The parents pull the kids closer. They're like, oh, oh boy, we got a pervert in our midst. Watch out for the pervert. And so there are literally religious institutions today, mainstream, that will kick you out if you're honest about your pornography, which is preposterous, but it's true.
Yeah, and is that a big component normally? Do you think when you're talking to people and when you're hearing their story? Is porn a huge part of the sexual addiction? Does that often come with everyone, or is it like most people, would you say?
I have probably 60-40 in my group. 40%. Well, technically, again, not a diagnostic tool, not a recognized mental health disorder. Generally, when people mean sex addiction, any form of compulsive behavior regarding sex. Porn falls under that umbrella.
Okay.
So what early on in my career, the people who were reaching out for help were primarily the sex addicts. The way I think about it now is the non-porn, massage parlors, cheating, hookups, that kind of stuff. The amount of people struggling with porn has continues to increase tremendously, Drew. And there are a lot of people, for a variety of reasons, who don't cross that line, like, cheat with a person, but it is so natural and normal. I mean, look, it's right here. It's like I can access anything. And now OnlyFans, hookup sites, AI chatbots. Drew, the AI girlfriend market, guess how big of a market it is? The AI, these are people who, make up a fake girlfriend and have sexual chats with their girlfriend. How big do you think that market is in terms of dollars?
Oh wow, I have no idea. I wouldn't think it would be that big, but
You're probably
sounds like,
thinking, right, maybe, how about tens of millions?
wow. I
Right?
didn't even think that.
Well, let's go a little. How about 100 million?
Wow.
No, we're wrong. The total market for the AI girlfriend market is 3.1 billion today. 3.1 billion dollars are being spent every year. So primarily men. Now women too, but my clients are mostly men. Have an AI girlfriend today.
Wow.
Text-based, Drew. What do you think is going to happen when the video and the text are just like I'm talking to you now?
Wow.
We're in, I don't want to be dramatic, man, but if you believe your sexual health is important, and if you believe that part of you is a powerful force, and as a man, I don't know how you can think otherwise, It is corrupted, and so many men are out of integrity. It's normal. The thirst traps on Instagram are these finely tuned marketing funnels. They are brilliant. They play the peekaboo game perfectly. They look you in the eye, and they've you know they're talking to you, right? You can feel it when they look. I know it's probably creeping you out, but they look you in the eye and they're like, "Hey, man," and it just touches so much inside us. We are literally not wired for this reality. We're not.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. Do you think that's a big role, the technology today now with all the AI stuff, the ability to just go on social media and see people wearing very little, the ads. Do you see it continuing to affect more and more people because of the technology today?
Yes, and the impact is growing exponentially because they're starting younger. So I'm starting to see some of these young guys who reach out, 21 to 25, who grew up on the internet. Their wiring, Drew, my wiring and your wiring is different. We're having a conversation. Their wiring is different. Their arousal template has been stained in ways they can't even because you know where you go, but I know where I went. But can I imagine what would have happened if I started there? And we know it's impacting the world, Drew, and bleeding over into real life. A 2019 study of women in the UK, 30% of them have, during intimate relationships with their partners, have been slapped, spit on, choked, and hit. I'm leaving something out. So what men are learning in porn, they're bringing that into the bedroom. Now, that 30% number sounds shocking, but bad news, it's even worse than that, because there was a band of people, like 10% or another 15%, where that behavior was normalized. They didn't even think about the fact that they consented to have intercourse with somebody or intimate relationships with somebody. They did not consent to be choked, to be slapped, to be spit on. Where did they learn that? We know where they learned it. It's porn. There was a study done, 87% of the videos on one of the main tube sites' homepage depicted sexual violence towards women. You
Wow.
combine that with the manosphere, Drew, the manosphere, the Andrew Tates of the world, despicable human being, leading men to hate women and, you deserve sex no matter what. That combination is, people are studying it. It is a significant societal impact. And the people in the trenches in the sexual assault field, they've been screaming bloody murder. Hey guys, we got to do something. I don't know what it is because we got a First Amendment right to watch this stuff, but don't tell me we can put a fucking rover on Mars and we can't protect our kids. Stop it. These are policy decisions. These aren't. I digress. I'll go off on one of my soapboxes, but man, it pisses me off. We got a man on the moon and we can't protect our children from hardcore, graphic, violent sexual content. Stop it.
Yeah, and that kind of on this topic, did you know? I know for me with my addiction with drugs and stuff, it just always seemed to get worse. It seemed to be just progressive. I was always, the amounts I was using, the different drugs. I started off with the marijuana. Next thing you know, I'm on the pills. Next thing you know, I was on the heroin. Did you find that sex addiction is similar in that it just kind of continues to get worse and kind of like we were just talking about, the porn gets more graphic or whatever the case is. Did you notice it just getting worse?
It just like heroin. So I remember when the first time I used heroin, Drew, well, first it was a pill, snorted an oxy, and I said, I'm going to do this once a month. I'm going to go on vacation once a month. Well, 3 days go by and you're feeling sick again. All that pain goes away and that euphoria is gone. Well, before I knew it, it was a gram a day. Now, in the sex and porn, it's the same thing. What does it for you? Us older brothers, we can remember getting aroused by pictures. You can't arouse these young whippersnappers with pictures nowadays. Because and if when I was addicted to porn, picture wouldn't do anything for me. The video that I saw 10 years ago wouldn't do anything for me. It so often gets more graphic, more hardcore, and it's true for all the dopamine problems. All of the addictions have this dopamine component. You need more, you need more, you need more, you need more. And so absolutely, it gets worse.
Yeah, and as someone that used drugs as well, looking back, do you think the sex addiction stuff came first, or was it the drugs for you?
No, the sex definitely came first. I did not start abusing, hardcore drugs. I waited until my 30s to start that bad habit. So the sex definitely came first. The drugs came through the sex. I remember seeing an escort. I saw tinfoil, and it had a little streak running down it, like, kind of like an artwork, which is ridiculous. And I said, "What's that?" Oh, it's black. I said, "Oh, I don't know. What's black?" "Oh, dope." "Well, what's that?" "Heroin." "Oh, is it bad?" "Is it good?" She goes, "I love it." And I did it. And that's when that started. And eventually, I didn't care about the sex. I only cared about the drug. So it got the drug, problem got pretty bad too. But the sex definitely started first.
Okay, interesting. And so when you started doing when the drugs started to take over, that kind of took precedent over the sex stuff for a little bit.
For a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a little bit. And the heroin got to a place where it was a gram a day, and like, oh shit. Then my wife noticed all the money did, like, thousands of dollars over the course of many months. And I'll tell you, man, listen, everybody is different. For me, getting off the heroin was hard, but I used I used something that impacted the withdrawals, and I was able to get off kratom. Actually, I'm a proud proponent of that plant for some people, but it allowed some people to get off heroin without having to go inpatient, and so that was easier for me to get off the heroin than it was to get off the sex, because we're talking about something so deeply rooted in your identity, your biology as a human being, first of all. And we talked about that arousal template getting corrupted in childhood. So at our deepest levels, we've got, at our core of who we are, there's the shame and sex. So for me, it was much harder to retrain the deviant sexual parts than it was to stop using both of those drugs, despite them being highly, highly addictive.
Yeah, man. And Craig, I want to ask you, what I know you said you enjoyed it. What is it like today? Does it ever kind of trip you out where, because I have moments in my sobriety where it just hits me at different points, and I kind of call them gratitude moments where it just kind of hits me and I'm like, whoa, man, I can't believe I'm sober. Do you have those as you're coaching people and you're helping all these people out, and you've got people that are suffering from various addictions reaching out to you? Do you ever just go, wow, like this is just have those gratitude moments where you're like, man, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yes, I'm on your podcast, man. I'm grateful. I've heard it before. Oh, the Sober Fix podcast, all those views. Like, Drew, yes, I try to live a life of gratitude in the fact that I have legs, I have arms, I have eyes, I have a mouth, I can talk. Gratitude has been a very, very important piece of my aggressive pursuit of a great life. And I think it's important for most people. I love those waves of gratitude that you talked about. And I try to, you know, ride that wave at least once a day and reflect on what I do have. Because we're wired to focus on what we don't. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. Like that's the human condition. Want.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you too, how do you maintain after you've kind of started to treat the addiction and stuff, whether it's the drugs or the sex addiction, how do you maintain kind of just good overall mental health today? What's kind of the some of the things that you do to just maintain where you're at?
So I have a my most clickbait video, Drew, is the cure for sex addiction and porn addiction. And I go through the video, I talk about what it takes to beat, sex and porn addiction. And so my conclusion, based on my experience, was the cure is the aggressive pursuit of a great life. And that brings people to me. They like that focus, even though, like, oh, this guy's throwing a cliche at me pretty early. But I'll give them then they listen to what I said, and it makes sense. So that's my identity. A shitty life is hard, a great life is hard. Choose your heart. That's something that resonates very well with me. And so self-care is paramount. Self-love is paramount. Relationships are paramount. Um, and you do those things, mindfulness is paramount. Having purpose in my life is important. Leading my broken parts is important. Drew, having accountability around not just the break a habit part of the equation, and I'm beyond that, but accountability on what I do want to accomplish. Those things have become non-negotiables in my life, and that has impacted my business performance. I have technically should be further ahead than where I am. I should have more of this. I should have more of that. I'm happy. I'm living my best life, and I'm good. Yeah, you got to grow, and you got to get clients and all that stuff, Drew. But I don't want to be a billionaire, or even Tony Robbins. I love my business. Give me my clients per month, and let's keep doing what we do. And so yeah, I prioritize because in addition to my mental health problems, so diagnosed ADD, bipolar, depression, anxiety. I've been in 7 car accidents. I've had 6 concussions. I fractured my skull. I've had low back surgery already, jaw surgery already. Misdiagnosed with Crohn's disease. Instead, I have this chronic inflammatory condition, which mirrors Lyme disease or fibromyalgia. And I'm leaving a few things out. So I've had a number of physical health challenges, Drew, and they're all interconnected. As we all know, mental is physical, physical is mental. I no longer draw that distinction in myself. I have problems. I don't draw that mental physical line. And so what I've learned is I got to stay ahead of it. If I don't manage my chronic pain, I'm going to be really triggered to use heroin or take a pain pill. Like, that's how it works. If I don't prioritize my relationship and, nurture that, I'm going to get resentful and really, really want to act out sexually. I've come to that conclusion. If I don't honor my self-care, I'm eventually going to use bath salts. Maybe not bath salts because they're not legal anymore. But you get my point. Like, I know if I don't do this, that's going to happen. I am certain of it. I'll never go back. No, I'll go back, man. I will absolutely go back. I will definitely go back if I don't do the things that I need to do to be successful.
Yeah, I love that. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like nodding because I just like how you put that, and I can relate to it, man. It's like I was gonna ask you too. I mean, you're living proof because you said you had the ADD stuff. You said you had kind of the mental health stuff going on. You said you had the sex addiction going on, the drug addiction, right? Because you hear sometimes dual diagnosis, stuff like that. I mean, you're living proof that you could have multiple addictions going on and still recover. Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you realize that my addictions were meeting needs, and the sex was helping me feel good about myself, numb, cope, and escape. The drugs were helping me feel good about myself, numb, cope, and escape, and alleviate pain. Once I realized that I was meeting my needs reactively, that became this call to meet them proactively. And that required me to really bring that business mindset that I had and say, okay, what do I need to do to create this output? And I realized, shit. And by the way, probably maybe could have been diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder at my worst, true, and certainly elements of borderline. So I'm a narcissistic-ish, borderline-ish, not anymore, but those traits were very, very strong in me. And so, yeah, for anybody listening, like as depth of the hell that you're in right now, take a moment to smile and maybe just think like that low is like equal on the other side of how great you're gonna feel and how you're gonna learn um, how you got to be where you're at, and how you're meeting your needs reactively, and how you were trained to meet those needs, and all the conditioning. This forces you to deal with all of that. It's all inexorably intertwined. Treat the whole thing. Your life will profoundly change. There is absolutely hope. There's never been a better time to be addicted. We know now more than ever. Now we have more things to be addicted to, so we don't, that is a strike in the other direction. But, people never had more options than they have today to find what's going to work for them.
Yeah, I love that, Craig. I want to ask you. I've had you here for almost an hour. What is next for you? I know you got your business. You got a lot of stuff going on. What are your plans moving forward for whether that's personal stuff, business stuff? What are you looking to achieve over the next couple of years?
Sure. So, really exciting time for the mindful habit, because we are in the in the course of helping men struggling with sex and porn addiction. We've worked with clients who struggle with all the other addictions, and we've got a really solid um, model that supports some of those people. Again, different people respond to different things. So we are launching Mindful Habit Mastery, which is going to be an online treatment program for men struggling with any bad habit. So we are super, super excited about that. That's coming in the next couple of months. I am also finished the outline, and I'm working really hard to finishing my book. I've always wanted to write a book. I've got a workbook, the Mindful Habit Workbook, but I'm writing a book, so I'm really, really excited about that. And the other project that my wife and I are working on, Drew, is developing an AI coaching bot trained in the Mindful Habit system, all the great models that we use, because more people are using Chat GPT and other bots, and so we're going to train one in our system and offer that to the public too, which is assuming we can do it safely. Assuming we can do it safely. I have some concerns of, if someone's really depressed. So if we can do it safely, we're going to launch that. And on a personal level, keep living my best life, supporting my children, taking my dog for walks, and being grateful for every step I take out in the sun or even in the rain. We put on this little raincoat, we jump in puddles together, but keep doing the work so I'm happy and healthy and help others along the way.
That's awesome, man. You got a lot of great things going on. What's the book going to be about? Can you give us a little
The
teaser?
Yeah, the book is going to be the sex addiction. The model is going to be about my model for sex addiction. Yeah, so I haven't figured out the title yet, Drew, but you know, people when people find us online, they say, "Oh, Craig, he's been through it." Right? Everybody out there who's helping people in this space, Drew, has been through it. What makes me special and what I'm proud of and the message that I want to share is that this model that I stumbled into really, really, really helps people. And the book is going to crystallize that. First, for people struggling with sex addiction, that's going to serve as the template for book two for, mindful habit mastery over all of your bad habits. Something like that.
Cool, man. And where can everyone find you?
Awesome. Yes, you can find the Mindful Habit on YouTube, on Twitch, and my website, Instagram too. All the places, Facebook, but my website is mindfulhabithelp.com, and check it out. Check out the free resources. My podcast is available on all podcast streaming services, and the name of that podcast is Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions.
I love that name. It's
Thank
perfect.
you.
All right, Craig. Hey, man, I appreciate you a lot. I normally ask everyone at the end, I say, what would your advice be to someone who is out there struggling with, let's just say, either addictions? Let's say maybe sex addictions, right? They're out there, they're feeling that shame and guilt. They're having to hide it from their wife or girlfriend. They're doing the cheating on everyone, like you talked about. What would your advice be to them on how to kind of start turning that around?
Tell someone. Tell someone. A famous quote in our space, Drew, really resonates with me. The opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. And 100 years of happiness research tells us one thing clearly, by an order of magnitude: your relationships are the greatest predictor of the quality of life. And having someone in your life that you can be vulnerable with, share that shadow with, go to a 12-step meeting, even if you don't connect, and say, hey, I'm Joe, I'm an addict, and here's my story. Tell somebody, because you're only as sick as your secrets.
Craig, thank you, man. I appreciate you so much. Such cool stuff. You're helping so many people. You bring a wealth of knowledge. It's a lot of stuff that I never really totally understood much about sex addiction, and I'm glad that you came on here and you're so open about everything, and you tell us stuff from your childhood and just your whole story, man. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time to come on here and give us all valuable information, and I know that you'll continue to go on and help a ton of people like you already are, so I wish you the best on everything, Craig. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. All right, you made it through another episode. Thanks again, and if you'd like to collaborate or come on the show, please email me at thesoberfixpodcast@gmail.com. Have a great day.